All right. Rob and Brian here from RHAP. We're here with some challenge royalty here with Cory and Johnny Bananas. Guys, how's it going?
I tell you what, it'd be better if I woke up this morning with an eighth win and 250
Yeah, well,
grand, but
you're on like
whatever.
5 shows, so maybe not this one, but maybe a different one.
Yeah.
I mean, who's counting? Yeah, that's true. Maybe another one. Okay, I'll just try and win one of the other ones.
Yeah. Okay. Let me ask Cory. You had the great story of day two picking up the pace. Do you know how far back you finished behind Chris?
I'll say this. I didn't see Chris once during the final. I did not run across Chris. I did not cross paths with Chris at all. So I just didn't see him at all. I mean, he took it hands down, and let's be real, like he deserved to win this season more than I did. So like I was happy that he won. Obviously, I think, you know, once again, another second place for me. So it hurts because you want to win. Obviously, that's why we all come. But at the end of the day, like I think Chris deserved more than I did. So yeah.
He's so cute, dude.
Johnny, I'm curious for you because obviously this season we said goodbye to your good friend Wes for a while, but it wasn't too long ago. You were hinting at a retirement as well, and then you came back to try to help Nani get her win. So what brought you back to the challenge, especially for this version of the show? What brought you here?
You can't ever take what anyone says right after a final seriously, especially like if they win or lose, and it's been very grueling. It's kind of like you see it every year when someone loses the Super Bowl or loses whatever, the World Series. You're in such a fragile emotional sense. Nothing makes sense after doing what we've done for 6, 8, 10 weeks. You're not in your right state of mind, emotionally, spiritually, physically, so mentally. So after Total Madness, after that win, I mean, that one really put me through the ringer, like mentally, all of us, when we lived underground in a missile bunker for 8 weeks. But it wasn't necessarily that's what brought me out of retirement. The thing is with me is it's hard. And I don't want to sound like I'm taking anything for granted or whatever, but like I've won 7 times, and it's like it's very difficult to find that like drive and that motivation to be like, what am I playing for this season? Yes, you want to win. Yes, you want the money. But when you're competing against someone who's never won, it's so much more difficult to match that energy and match that intensity. So I have to find new things. Like that's why Nani, that was my motivation on Ride or Dies. It's like, yes, I want to win, but if I could find something bigger than myself and something else to fight for this season, I was like, dude, I just want to come on. My motivation this season was just to come onto a new network, compete against new people, and still show them and still show the network and still show their fans that we do it better. We've done it longer. We're going to do it harder than anyone that you're going to throw in our way. So you could put it on a different network. You could call it the Challenge USA. You could outnumber us 9-1, but the cream's still going to rise to the top. I mean, look at 3 out of the 10, out of 3 out of the 6, 50% of the MTV heavy hitters or vets, whatever you want to call us, that were brought into the game, made it to the final. So that's saying something.
Yep. And Cory, for you, I'm curious because this was a very interesting season for you. You know, no eliminations that you were tossed into. Normally, sometimes you're on the wrong side of the numbers a lot of the time. So, was there anything different you tried to do this season to like stay out of the spotlight as much and keep your keep a low profile?
I think the two biggest things, Bananas and West were my shields, right? If they wanted to be big, they were swinging at them first. So I tried to keep them around as long as I could. And number 2, it was more so. Oh shit! What was your question again? Sorry.
Just stay out of the spotlight. How'd you do it?
Oh yeah. Political game. So on Live Spies and Allies, I feel like I went home because I didn't have conversations with some people I probably should have. And this season, I kind of went out of my way to try to be involved in everything. Like if I saw Big Brother talking, I didn't give them space. I went and inserted myself into the conversation and was like, yeah, what are we doing? So I think just stepping up my political game just helped my game overall.
Bananas, we saw you get into it a little bit with Josh last week regarding whether he put your name into the hopper or if he should do that. Did you and he have any conversation following that?
On the show or off the show?
Off the show.
Yeah. So he obviously felt some sort of way about it. Listen, I would have been a lot more heated about the situation had I ended up going in and had I ended up losing. So it was almost like, in a weird way, better for me, for the show, for the storyline, for that to have happened the way that it did. It's like karma and poetic justice at its best, right? Instant karma. Josh makes this decision. I still don't vote for him, even though he votes for me. And he still ends up going in and he still ends up losing. So for me, it was almost like that was all the payback, or that was all of the comeuppance that he needed. I didn't need to add on to that. Plus, I'm usually one, except in certain circumstances, that I don't like to bring my work home with me, dude. It's like everybody knows that on the challenge, it's a dirty business. All right. It's like making sausages is never pretty. Challenge is kind of the same way. And especially towards the end where we were at. I mean, you look at it, by Chris winning that final daily challenge, it put us in a predicament where Josh, me, Fessy, and Cory, who had been working together pretty much for most of the season after they, tried to cut my throat. We were in a bind, though, where it's like someone's going to have to go in against each other. Who's it going to be? So there was no easy way out of that. Someone's going to get their feelings hurt. It was Josh, because everything hurts his feelings. So, yeah, dude, I mean, obviously I felt some sort of way about it in the moment, but in hindsight, it's like, someone had to go in, and that was just the nature of the beast.
Cory, did you make any sort of pitch to Josh for that vote when he was deciding between you and Bananas, basically, or himself, to like toss into elimination? Did you make any sort of pitch to keep yourself safe there?
No, the only pitch that I had is that he said he owed me one, right? He said he owed me one because Lies, Spies, and Allies, he chose Logan over me. And I was like, you did wrong. You know what I mean? And at the beginning of the season, he's like, I owe you one. I owe you one. I was like, okay. The thing with Josh is he's friends with everybody. He's very good socially. But then times like this is where it kind of comes and bites you in the ass, because it's like you're friends with everybody. Who are you going to screw over? And I think it comes down to, was he going to screw over Fessy and me, which is two people, right? Or is he going to screw over Johnny or Bananas? So like, are you going to piss off two people, or are you going to piss off one person? And I mean, this was eating him up. You could see the tears in his face. Like, it was hard for him. And, but hey, guess what? He got his chance to go down into elimination, win his way to a final. It just sucks that he had to go against Fessy. But, I think Josh will see a final here very soon. He's a strong competitor. I mean, the guy's crazy on fitness now. He's just a little goofy here and there. Got to work on his athleticism a little bit.
He's the goof.
Yeah,
I'm like, Josh, how about less Olympic lifting, okay? And maybe do some agility or balance drills. I don't know, dude.
Yeah, but I just know he really wants it, and I hope that Josh gets a final here real soon.
Yeah.
But as it's interesting for us watching, obviously you're like one of the coming into any season would be like a major threat, and it was so odd to hear people talking about you going to a final, like, oh, he's older, he's not what he used to be. Was that surprising to hear watching back, or was that kind of like, were you aware of the perception of yourself in the house?
No, here's what it was. I think that especially when it came to the final elimination, I mean, it's easier to say that, I mean, we all knew what it was. It was Hall Brawl is going to favor the larger individual. Okay. So, but instead of saying, hey, we just want to go in smaller guy, it's like, yeah, well, he's older now and he's like, washed up, whatever. Dude, listen, man, I hear it every season, but that's what's so funny. It's like, well, then if I'm old and if you're okay running against me, let me just coast to the end. Let me not have to go into elimination all season and stop throwing my name in the hopper all the time. So, it's almost like you can't have it both ways. I'm either a dangerous competitor in the game because I've won 7 times and you don't want to see me in a final, or I'm old and, washed up and you want to go against me. You can't have it both ways. So I don't know. Make up your minds, people.
Because the challenge vets came in, and you were certainly like outgunned in terms of like how many numbers there were. Was there a path for you all to have a better shot at this, or was this basically like a suicide mission?
No, this was
My
a suicide.
Throw Johnny down the drain to show people I care about Johnny. I don't want to be associated with him. I think the minute that I decided, well, I didn't really decide, but the team decided to throw Johnny down there and we had our argument in front of the whole house, it opened up a lot of eyes. And then, you know, when Johnny goes down there, wins his elimination, defects to the blue team, brings me to the red, I think that was a turning point for us.
I think we were literally set up to fail. Here's what I think. Here's my conspiracy theory on this whole situation. You can't have a show called The Challenge without people from The Challenge on it, right? Which is that's what I think the first big misstep was on season 1 Challenge USA, is they had this show called The Challenge, and it was a bunch of people who've never been on The Challenge before. So they were like, all right, how do we remedy this situation? We'll dabble a few challengers in there, but they're gonna be so outnumbered and so outgunned, they're not gonna last. So it's like, yeah, we've satisfied both parties. We could still have this on our network with our talent, CBS talent. We're not gonna have to, you know, let these wild animals from MTV, you know, taint our, you know, our network and our show. But what they didn't, they made a big miscalculation, which is like, there's a reason why people like us and the challengers, it's like, we're just built different. All right. And you can outnumber us. You can put us in the most unfair circumstances possible, and we're somehow going to find a way to win and rise to the top. And like I said, the fact that 50%, 3 out of the 6 MTV legends that came into the game made it to the final says a lot. I mean, we weathered a lot of storms, and we came together when we needed to, and we protected the house.
Yep.
Bananas, for you now, the last few seasons, you've actually joined like the podcasting streets. You've been, you know, doing the weekly recaps. How has that impacted your social game with some of the people now that you have like so much more one-on-one time with all of them? You're dissecting the episodes. Has that increased your threat level or made it easier for you to blend in? How has that impacted you?
I think it's the exact opposite. I think what it's allowed me to do is really have an open dialogue with people from the show that I otherwise wouldn't outside of the show. I keep my circle very small. I don't like to run in the challenge circle when I'm not filming. Like, I like to keep my real life, my reality life separate. And what that does sometimes is it prevents you from keeping certain relationships. So when you go back on the show, it's like, well, yeah, we did last season together. I haven't spoken to you in a year. With the podcast, it enables me to keep, like, again, that open dialogue with cast members. But it also allows me to have a platform and an environment and a space where, like, we could just have, you know, a conversation and be neutral. So yeah, in a weird way, it has allowed me to, you know, really kind of like, you know, kind of bury the hatchet with a lot of people. I mean, I just had Paulie on my podcast, who I never thought I would even look or speak to again, let alone have on there. Devin, I got Cory on multiple times, Nelson. I mean, all these people in the past that I have had issues with, and I've butted heads with. It's almost like, you know, it's like Olive Garden, you know, when you're here, your family. It's a good place to just like come and break bread.
I don't know if you know this, but Johnny likes to talk too. So I think platform for him to just get out there, you know.
Maybe that should be your next evolution, Cory. Maybe you need your own podcast too. That'll help build your social game up even more.
Yeah.
These kids running around, my podcast would be a hot mess. I'd stay on top of everything else. But yeah, podcast is great. It's called Death and Taxes, right? Am I wrong?
Death, Taxes, and Bananas.
Death, Taxes, and Bananas.
Cory goes, right? Am I wrong? Yep,
yeah.
Listen to it. Yep. Cory's been my co-host a few times.
Yep. It's good.
Nice.
Good. Check it out.
Bananas, so I'm curious. So, and for Cory as well, you each made the double down decision in your final. Cory, you did it in the strength.
Yeah.
Bananas, you did it in the skills.
Idiot.
Yeah, very curious about each of your decisions. So for Cory, for you, like, what did you just think strength for you is like your best bet? You wanted to get off to a good start. Like, what led to that decision?
Yeah, I mean, I looked at the 4 games or whatever we're calling them, mini games, and I just felt like that was going to be my best bet. And if it's an option, let's do it. I definitely didn't see myself getting last place, and like that, I didn't see that happening.
Right.
But it happened, and so that's not how you want to start a final, is in last place and getting a time penalty. So it was just a uphill battle from there, you know.
What about you, Bananas? I was surprised you did the skills, not the food or maybe even the strength. Like
I should have done spelling, dude. I don't know, man, because like I didn't take it on the spelling. That was the third to last one. We knew eating was next. I didn't know if Chris was going to be that great of an eater. I mean, he was on Survivor, so I'm like, I don't know. Maybe this puzzle seems easy. I should have done it on spelling. Honestly, I should have done it on spelling, or I should have. Believe it or not, up until recently,
I was doing spelling with you. You really think you?
Yeah, that's actually why. Because I was so worried that Cory was going to beat me in the spelling. That
he's got too much autocorrect.
Dude, yeah. I didn't even want to risk it. Didn't even want to risk it. But yeah, that kind of sucked. It didn't really factor in though. Like whatever, dude. A few minutes was like nothing in this, especially when it came down to the fact that like, dude, I could have 20 minutes and me freaking losing the damn rock weighing situation. There was no coming back from that, dude.
Yeah. Cory, you nailed it on the rock balancing though.
Yeah. I mean, I trained for that. I studied very hard and I learned how to use a scale. But no, it was that was everything. Like for me to get that time, for me to pass Johnny on that ATV, baby, that felt good, fellas. I'm telling you, that felt great. He was struggling with that rock, and then I passed Michaela, gave her the peace sign, and I just knew that I would really be sorry if I let Johnny catch up to me. So I just have got to keep pushing, keep fighting, and hopefully finish first.
Cory, how would you compare like some of the dailies and the eliminations to Challenge MTV? Do you think did they dial it back a little bit, or were these like pretty standard? Like this was a pretty straightforward challenge season that could have easily just been on MTV as well.
I think it could have easily been on MTV. I think this season related a lot to like Final Reckoning. I think a lot of the eliminations were like Final Reckoning-ish, I guess you could say. Like they were kind of toss-up-y type of games, right? But then you had your physical games too. You had Hall Brawl, even though it was a pillow fight. Good. The one with Wes and Chris was probably the most intense elimination that we had when they were in the air, like fighting each other.
That was dope.
And then you had the tug of war with Chris and Lewis. So yeah, there were some good ones, man. I could definitely see. But then you also felt like, okay, we're on CBS. They might dial it down a little bit. And I think we saw that with the Hall Brawl. So yeah, it could easily have been on MTV as well.
All right. Brian, anything else for the legends of the challenge?
No, that's it. Just excited to see you guys coming up. Maybe season 40 around the corner. I'd love to see you. Can't wait to see you.
Buddy, you don't have to wait that long. Why don't you just this Thursday put on E and put on House of Villains 10 p.m. dude? That's gonna your guys' new guilty pleasure.
We already got the podcasts coming.
Woohoo!
Okay.
There was a Scotland trip for you as well. There's a lot of stuff going on for you.
A lot of stuff.
There was.
A lot of stuff.
There would have been a Scotland trip for Cory last year had he just had some balls and just done it.
Yeah.
Were you asked for season 1 of Traders?
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, I've had my bag packed and everything, but everything happens for a reason, and yeah, that's all I can really say on that.
All right. I know you guys got to run. Thanks for making some time for us, and all the best outside the show. Okay. All right. Take care, guys.
Boys.
All right. Bye.